Ladies and gentlemen, this is an impromptu live stream here. I don't actually intend to get into too much conversation tonight. What this live stream is going to be about is cross training and mission planning. So I did want to throw this out there now. Just to be clear, guys, this is just some brief notes that I've written down. I actually am not going to be going too crazy in depth. I don't have charts for you. I don't have this and that. But what I do have is some very specific notes on this topic. And I wanted to kind of get this video done because we at Gutter Fighting Secrets have been distracted a little bit with our seminar coming out. We're putting together all the material and the curriculum for that, certificates, all of that. So I haven't been doing a lot of World War II combatives lately. We're also in the process of doing some transitioning here at Gutter Fighting Secrets and slightly monetizing the business a little more. You know, guys, I've been with you guys for some of you have been with us for many years, and I appreciate the support greatly. At first, I intended this to be a business. Then it became kind of I want to say service to the country in some respects, and then it's really just grown into kind of a side project for me. But we are kind of expanding the business a little bit. That's not to say that the videos are going to be disappearing or anything like that, but the curriculums that we do offer here for free on the YouTube channel and also sometimes on the Instagram channel, they are going to be available in seminar form. And we're going to be able to come to you. And if you get a group of guys together, we're going to really get into this in depth, in detail stuff that I've been studying for many years. But with all of that being said, this is going to be touching a lot on mission planning, touching a lot on pre-deployment stuff and cross-training, which is very important. So with all that being said, guys, give me about 3 mics here to get my notes together and we'll jump right into it. What we're going to do is play a song, and then we're actually going to hold with the kind of way that we've been doing things. We are going to do maybe a 5-minute intelligence brief just so far on the week. Then we will get into what's going on here with the lesson plan for today. So stand by, guys. Enjoy this song, Chris Geo, and the song is Global Resistance. Again, this song is about 3 minutes long, so if you're watching later, feel free to fast forward, and we'll dive into the meat and potatoes of the subject.
It's like we're living in a cage with invisible walls. The wicked zeitgeist of life making grown men crawl on their knees, begging please save us from the boogeymen funded by the CIA, funneled through Arabian banks like a shank to the neck. They hit you from the back, no sweat, hold check and watch you shake and take away your freedom. You really don't need them when you're tucked away safe and protected by FEMA. Then you must be a dreamer like the great pretender. As the Second Amendment, why I'll never surrender, but I'll never plead the fifth when it comes to September. I'ma yell it from the roof and expose the agenda. It's time to wake up and open your eyes to the matrix. This is going out to the truthers and patriots. Living free and dying hard, speaking through battle scars. An army of one becomes a global resistance. Time to wake up and open your eyes to the matrix. This is going out to the truthers and patriots. Living free and dying hard, speaking through battle scars. An army of one becomes a global resistance. Like I was chosen by God, I was sent with a message to destroy the new world order and dispose of the wreckage. I've been broken and tested, reconstructed, invested, injected with truth. Now the truth has me restless, distressed and aggravated as I rally the masses out to make you see what I see when I run my sunglasses. Watch me singing like a bee, but my name ain't Cash. When we confront the tyranny, give them 33 lashes of truth for the youth, for the red, white, and blue. Fuck the mark of the devil and the NAU. Bilderberg, CFR, keep your new world order. We'll live as free men, or we'll die as free soldiers. It's time to wake up and open your eyes to the matrix. This is going out to the truthers and patriots. Living free and dying hard, speaking through battle scars. An army of one becomes a global resistance. Time to wake up and open your eyes to the matrix. This is going out to the truthers and patriots. Living free and dying hard, speaking through battle scars. An army of one becomes a global resistance.
Let me tell you something. When it's too late, you can kill people like me. You can shut us down, you put us in prison. The people got to taste the truth, and there's nothing on earth you can do to stop this information warfare
It's
migration.
time to wake up and open your eyes to the matrix. This is going out till the truth is a patriot. With the free, dying hearts, picking through battle scars. An army of one becomes a global resistance. Time to wake up and open your eyes to the matrix. This is going out till the truth is a patriot. With the free, dying hearts, picking through battle scars. An army of one becomes a global resistance.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome in here. Rusty, what's up, man? All right, guys. So getting into it here, we're going to get into current events before we start this thing. I do think it is important to keep up with what's going on in the financial world, as well as the news cycles here. So at the close today, it's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got the S&P a little bit down, 15.40. The Dow was down. The NASDAQ was up. Russell 2000 was down. Crude's down, sitting at around 63.38. Gold is down from its I don't want to say high, but from where it was. It's at 1796 right now. Silver's up a little bit, just by 0.12, and it's sitting at roughly $24. And again, the euro isn't really changed too much. It's at $1.18. So, and again, that's going to basically just be our rundown of the financials. Now, as far as the news cycles go, what we're looking at here, I mean, Bitcoin, and I should have put this in with the financials, as well as Ethereum did take a bit of a hit today. Ethereum a little bit more, actually. So what's going on in the world? Obviously, we know what happened in Africa. Situation continues to develop there. Louisiana health officials are revoking the licensing of seven nursing homes that evacuated hundreds of residents to warehouses ahead of Hurricane Ida. 7 of the residents did die at those facilities. Biden did come to New York and New Jersey today. We didn't want him, but he was there. Mexico Supreme Court rules that basically you can't make abortions illegal. White House asked Congress for $24 billion in disaster relief. We got some things happening in Russia, but not much, just politically speaking. Nothing really to speak about, though. And that's really kind of it that I'm seeing. I mean, if you guys have anything of importance that you think is relevant, just let me know, and I'll definitely make it known. Real quick with the weather. I'm not getting into like NOTAMs and stuff like that, like S2 Underground does. You'd be well to watch their intelligence briefs. They do way more in depth than I do, but I do want to just look at this and see if we got any tropical depressions or anything. We do, in fact, have a tropical depression. It looks like forming in the North Atlantic, and that looks like it's heading over to, where is that? It's going to skirt past, it's going to actually, looks like it's going to skirt past, if not hit, St. Pierre and McAllen. To be honest, St. John's, okay? So anyone out there in St. John's, looks like they're getting a little bit of weather right now, and it's going to skirt past Greenland. We do have a little bit of weather in Europe, not much to speak about. Some thunderstorms in Africa, a few in Asia. Now, speaking of Asia, we do have a couple of things going on here. We've got what looks like a tropical depression actually hitting the Philippines, I believe, as we speak. We've also got another one that looks like it's heading for Taiwan, Hong Kong region. And just on my phone here, this isn't as efficient as if I were on a computer. And then we've got another one kind of coming up from Africa. Looks like, again, it's going to skirt by. That's that same one that's going to hit St. John's. So that's good on the weather, guys. I mean, we've got some scattered thunder showers here in North America. Looks like Toronto, United States, Houston, Mexico is getting a little bit of weather. And then you've got another tropical depression that looks like it's actually going to blow off into the Pacific Ocean, and some inclement weather there on the left coast around San Francisco. So that's it. But let's get onto and into the topic at hand. So the topic at hand, guys, is going to be cross training. Now, when we talk about cross training, there's a few different types, or there's about two different types of cross training that we could talk about. One would be very specific, mission oriented, and one would be more generalized and broad. So when we're talking about cross training, what we want to initially kind of look at is, oh, what is your speciality, right? What is, small team supply, what's up, bro? So cross training, you have to look at your strengths first, right? So what are you good at? Are you a trigger puller? Are you a martial arts guy? Is violence your thing, right? Is that what are you a soldier? If so, then what do you need to stack on top of that? Or, hey, maybe you're not. Maybe you are a guy that works in finance, right? You don't know fucking much about violence, but you know about finance, right? And that's actually, believe it or not, guys, a very specific skill set when it comes to prepping in itself, right? If you know what's going on in the markets, you thusly know what's going on in the world. And if you know what's going on in the world, well, that kind of puts you in the intelligence region of prepping, doesn't it? That kind of means you're a watchman on the wall, right? You're going to know what's coming before the rest of the knuckle draggers do. And it's your job to alert everybody else. So thusly, in the prepping world, so to speak, or in the whatever you want to call it, in the patriotic world, it would be your patriotic duty to warn everybody else, hey, I see this coming in the financial world. The markets are stacking up to look like this. Let me warn people. Let me put out a YouTube video, or let me whatever, right? So that would be your specialty, okay? Or again, if you're a cop, that's your specialty. Maybe you're a firefighter like me, right? Well, I don't know. I mean, personally, I know a lot about violence, and I also know about finance, but that's me. I'm just amazing. If you are let's say an EMT or a fireman, right? Or something like that, or a nurse or a doctor, well, then that's your specialty. So I think you get the point there. We need to stack on top of our specialty all the other things that we're going to need to become a well-rounded individual, whether you are doing this and learning about this for prepping sake, or you're learning about this for travel sake. Maybe you're going over to Africa for a holiday vacation, right? Why, I don't know. But like maybe you're going over somewhere and you want to become more well-rounded to be stacking the odds in your favor, right? And that's something that people do, including myself. Adventure travel is something that people do. So, and I've spoken with a number of individuals who have gotten training before they go overseas to certain regions. Small Team Supply says, yeah, you don't have to head down just punching the clock. Exactly. Leveraging your skills. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. 100%. And so there's many reasons why we might want to make ourselves more of a well-rounded individual when it comes to all of these skill sets. But what skill set specifically do we need? Well, that's going to be environmentally specific. That's going to be mission specific. So once we figure out our environment and our mission, we're going to know, what do you need as far as skill sets go? So let's just take for an example, okay? What is our environment? Well, we're traveling to the Middle East. What is our mission? Well, we're on vacation, all right? Whatever we're doing on vacation there, whatever. But I'm using that because I'm familiar with the area. We're going on an adventure travel. We want to go see Yemen. Why we want to see Yemen? It's on our bucket list. For whatever fucking reason, we want to go there and we want to see it. Well, what are some things we're going to need to go and train ourselves up on to prepare actively for going into a war zone, especially as a non-combatant, right? Because if you're going there on a contract with a bunch of other contractors, well, obviously, number one, they're going to train you in this stuff. Number two, strength in numbers, right? You're going to be there. You're going to be supported by a company who's got support from the defense industry, who's got support from the Department of Defense, like all of that, right? But if you're going somewhere like solo or, with a very small team, maybe you're going there for Doctors Without Borders, right? Let's use that as an example. we're a doctor. We don't know much about trigger pulling. We don't know much about kicking indoors. We don't know much about martial arts or, survival skills or any of that stuff. We're going to Yemen as a doctor without borders, okay, or a traveling nurse or whatever. And we want to know, wait, what are some skill sets that we need to figure out before we get there? And this is going to be, guys, on the very broad spectrum of things. And then we're going to get into specifics, and we're also going to touch on the mission planning aspect of it. By the way, guys, if you have any specific questions that you really want to ask, the super chat is available for you guys. I don't typically go out there and ask for donations, but it is an option for you guys. And if you're watching later, well, you lucked out. So I do have a couple of things written down here. Now, broadly speaking, the first thing on our list, and these are literally in no specific order, is communications. What do we need to know about communications? Well, we need to have a communications plan, and this does go into kind of mission planning, but communications is something that we need to train on. It's very confusing. Guys, I've been doing this stuff for a long time, and I still have a lot to learn about communications and radios and setting freaks and all that type of thing. But these are things we need to know about. And even if we're going over somewhere and not doing any paramilitary type of stuff, we still need to know about communications. Hey, we need to have a primary communications plan. How it's on an international plan. Connection is unstable. Connection is unstable. Connection is now stabilized. So we've got our communications plan that we're working on right now. What's that look like? What does that look like? Well, we've got our cell phone. We've got our fancy iPhone, right? And we put it on an international plan. All right, awesome. And then we've got a secondary form of communication. So let's just say we lose our cell phone or someone steals it. Well, what are we going to do, right? Do we have a plan to be able to call people, call home, or whatever if we need help, or should we need to call our family and let them know we're okay, right? Does our hotel have a phone? And if so, when we call home, is that phone going to bill us $1 million for the fucking phone call, right? So that's something we have to know about. Then we have to figure out, hey, when I call home, who am I calling? Do I have numbers physically written down in a black notebook, or could be multicam, whatever you like? Do I have those numbers written down? Okay. And as far as communications and writing numbers down, not just the family numbers, maybe your family doctor, right? In case you need to contact him for whatever reason. Also, another thing would be good is phone numbers of local places too. The local hospital, the local police, local EMS, those types of things. So that's all within your communication plan. Now, we always need a primary, secondary, and tertiary. That's a third. Tertiary means third type of communication plan. So that could be, for example, if you're a doctor without borders, a satellite phone. Now, satellite phones can be expensive. You can rent them, which is a lot less expensive, and then put it on a plan and only utilize that phone, only call that phone, right? Or use it to call if you really, really need to. But again, if you have your embassy's number written down and things like that, very good. So that's comms, right? We need communications plans. Now, if we were going over there for more of a paramilitary type of thing, security contracting or something like that, we'd probably need to know radios. We'd need to know a little bit about the specific radios that we are using. Hey, how do I program a new frequency into it? All of that type of stuff that actually Small Team Supplies kind of knows a lot more about than I do. But you need to know the radios and the communications devices that your team specifically is using. And that all should be taken care of kind of pre-deployment. And even if you're not going somewhere physically deploying, that should be taken care of when you get to your new unit or your new whatever it is, whether you're in the National Guard or a militia or the real army, the regular army, I should say, that all those SOPs and SOGs should be explained to you once you get to your new unit or team or whatever it is. But you need to train on those comms, and you need to be cross-trained on those comms. Now, if we want to go a step further, we could, as civilians, go ahead and learn our way around a ham radio. Ham radios are a vital piece of equipment, especially when we talk about prepping. So ham radio is kind of a must. Now, I never went and got my ham radio license. It's just a lot of studying that I never really felt like putting into it. But, if I really wanted to kind of geek out and do more with, with my studies, I probably would want to go and do some ham radio stuff. If nothing else, learn my way around a Baofeng radio and things like that. Kind of more ham oriented, so that you can, again, program frequencies, and you don't have to worry about eavesdropping as much as like a PTT or push to talk, like Motorola or whatever like that. And again, studying some type of way to encrypt or roughly encrypt your communications, whether that's literally just using code words and phrases. Hey, I'm over here on the Northeast sector. Instead of saying that, hey, I'm over here on, sector Bravo. I'm over here on the Zulu side of Sector Bravo, right? So that when people are listening into that communications, they can't exactly glean what you're doing unless they have access to those kind of codes that you've set with the rest of your team. Now that's communications. The next thing on my list, again, this is in no particular order, is med. Medical stuff is really important. And honestly, as an EMT, there's like, from all the crazy training I've done, probably medical stuff and driving are the two things that I use the most. And then the next would probably be environmental training or like soft skills. But medical training is a must. At the very least, CPR AED. Okay, that's a one class thing. You can go and get that in like a day, less than a day. And then the next would be basic first aid. Again, you can usually get that in a day or two, like a weekend class. And then the next level would be bleeding control. Again, bleeding control has several levels, and we're working on right now a seminar actually with a guy out of Philadelphia, a team out of Philadelphia actually that does. They do a lot of training with the State Department. They contract for the State Department, but we're going to be doing a seminar probably at some point with them. So stand by, guys. The best way to find out about those seminars is to subscribe to gutterfightingsecrets.com. That way we have your email, and when we set the new seminar days, we will put out an email, and we'll just let everybody know, hey, this is where we're going to be, when we're going to be there. This is how much it is. Click this damn button to sign up, and we'll go from there. But medical skills, if nothing else, if you don't want to go through EMT or EMR, which is the level down from EMT, or paramedic, which is a fucking over a year long with clinicals and stuff, which I don't recommend unless you're actually doing it for a living. But CPR AED, basic first aid, and then you want to take it one step further to become more battle ready would be bleeding control. And again, there's bleeding control level 1, level 2, level 3, and you can keep going with it. So the next thing would be violence. Now, violence is obviously, hopefully never going to be necessary, especially if you're traveling as a doctor without borders, right? My friends always joke, or when I got my EMT cert, they always joked, hey, you're the type of guy to knock someone out and then have to render care to them afterwards. But it's true, even if you do have some type of Hippocratic oath or something like that, you do have the right to defend yourself. But, violence would be broken up into several categories, right? Obviously, learning how to basically use a firearm, learn how to basically defend yourself unarmed, and then learn how to basically defend yourself, with various other weapons, knives, sticks, things like that. That would kind of be the basics of it. And then you want to get a little bit more advanced with it. You could obviously learn, some tactical shooting stuff, or learn how to pie around a corner, learn very basic CQB, learn how to clear stoppages from your weapon, all of that type of Rambo stuff that everybody likes. And you only really can learn that stuff two ways. Number one is get the proper training, and then number two is experience. And I think it's always, these days, it's always easy to get your experience from training rather than, finding a conflict zone somewhere around the world and going and fighting with the Kurds. That is an avenue, but it might be a little tough for you to get back stateside afterwards. So go get proper training. You can't go to the range. And I've seen too many guys. They go to the range, they buy a fucking pistol, they go to the range. Maybe they watch a couple of YouTube videos, and then they're standing there, and they're not really, they might be putting lead down range, but they're not really training. So get the training, guys. And again, One Shepherd is an invaluable resource if you want actual legitimate training. One Shepherd is a very valuable resource. Look it up, Google it. There are other resources like Tactical Response, but the contractor courses they offer are outstanding. But if you ever need resources and places to go train for tactical purposes, get in touch with me. I'm here for you. gutterfightingsecrets@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction. So after violence, we have driving. Now, driving is a very important skill set. And as I said, this is probably something I use the most. I live in New York. I mean, driving here is like driving in Egypt. It's like driving in kind of a third world nation too, right? So driving is very important. They're more than likely, if they, whoever they is, they are trying to get you, they more than likely will try to get you while you are driving, while you are outside your home. So driving is very, very, very crucial, very important. So even if you're not able to make it to an evasive driving course, because I realize that they can be expensive, familiarize yourself with concepts. Familiarize yourself with anti-ambush concepts. Familiarize yourself with surveillance detection concepts. So that would all be included in driving, and you'd be amazed at the resources publicly available for free on YouTube. You just do have to be careful. A lot of what is on YouTube is outdated. Not a lot, but some of it. Now, some of these things that are outdated are actually outdated as far as they were made in the 70s, but they're literally being taught the same way now. But other things, like certain surveillance detection videos were made in the 60s and 70s, don't apply as much now as they did back then. Yeah, exactly. And again, X, that's a good point. Off-road recovery and vehicle maintenance is absolutely crucial. It's absolutely crucial. And that's something that you really need to be thinking about too, is off-road driving, unimproved road driving, as well as, finished and improved roads. They're all different things. How to drive on a gravel road, how to drive on a dirt road, right? And then how to drive on a paved freeway are completely, well, they're not completely different, but they have kind of different feels to them. And then obviously driving off-road is completely different, and there's a lot we need to be thinking about while we drive, right? Especially should we come into contact with anything, right, like that spooks us. Our intuition would tell us, or our thoughts would tell us to go fast, but you can't always go fast all the time. Sometimes you have to go slow in order to be smooth and go fast, right? If that makes sense. Now, the next thing would be your soft skills like manipulation. And I say manipulation, but that's simply talking to people, social dynamics. That's very important. You're not going to gain any real intelligence other than what's on the TV and the news cycles and the Twitter and things like that. Other those open source intelligence avenues are great, but there's nothing like raw human intelligence. Now, again, raw intelligence is raw intelligence. That's exactly what it is. Hasn't been analyzed, right? It hasn't been vetted, but it is raw intelligence, and you need to take it for what it's worth. But human intelligence, especially when you're operating in a specific region or environment, can be life-saving, and it can be the difference between being fucked and not being fucked. So learn how to talk to people. Learn how to win people over slightly. Learn how to open a conversation and talk to somebody. Learn how to get information, elicit information from people without them exactly knowing what's going on. You don't have to be James Bond about it, but you have to basically know how to do that. It's really good. DJ says, in talking to someone, do it in such a manner to elicit information. Human intelligence is still one of the biggest sources of intelligence out there. Absolutely. It really is. It really is. And I can't tell you the amount of times where I've been traveling somewhere and I was able to find something out from a person that I would never have been able to find out really anywhere else, unless my head was literally in my phone all fucking day and I was like scouring around 10 different sites, which is unrealistic. So human intelligence is so crucial, and you will only get good human intelligence if you have good social dynamic skills. So the next thing is survival. This could mean a number of things, but it kind of encompasses all type of survival, right? So if you're operating out in the wilderness survival. Hey, how do I build a fire? Okay. How do I stay warm with a fire? Or how do I cook my food with a fire? Now, how do I build a fire that doesn't emit a lot of smoke in case somebody's looking for me and I don't want to be found? On the split side of that, how do I build a fire with a lot of smoke in case I'm trying to be found? Things like that. Hey, what do I eat? What is okay for me to eat in this specific environment that I'm operating in? You don't need to know everything, but knowing a few different types of basic necessities would be good. knowing how to trap an animal would be good. Knowing how to, and look, hunting, I'm a city boy, okay? I don't fucking hunt, right? I don't know how to set snares. I really don't. I've watched it on YouTube a few times, but put me out in the woods, I'm not going to be snaring chipmunks and shit. So how do I go ahead and find, can I eat these worms? Can I eat these types of plants, right? Just basic shit to really, if you fucking had to live and survive for a couple of weeks out in the wilderness, if that's where you're operating, how do I survive until I can get found or until I can get back over the wire to where my good guys are operating, right? If I'm over here in, behind enemy lines and I need to get over here, well, how can I survive while I'm trying to get from here to there? And that's another thing is recovery, escape, and evasion, right? This is part of survival. Hey, do I move by night? Do I move by day? Well, usually you want to move by night, but it depends, right? It depends where you are. It depends what you're doing. Things like that. How do I survive until I can get back home? Because a dead soldier is no good to anybody, right? It's your job to survive and maintain yourself and to get yourself back to where you need to be. Not to mention the fact that you could have intelligence value. So if you're caught and you've got information in your head that you don't want anyone to know, well, more than likely they'll get that information eventually. And even if they don't, they're going to make it very, very difficult for you. And I like to be comfortable. So I'd rather just not be found. You don't want to get yourself involved with anything like that. So know how to get home. And that's all part of survival. Now, if you're operating on the ocean, all right, that's completely different type of thing, right? Well, can I look, I've been a merchant marine. I served on ships. I worked on ships. Can I take my pants off and use them as a flotation device, right? Or can I, if I happen to wash up on an island, right? Like, how do I get fish? Like, just basic shit like that will increase the odds of your survivability, right? How do I avoid getting sun poisoning while I'm in the middle of fucking ocean? Like, there's ways, right? And again, if you're in the city, there is also survival skills for the city, right? Where do you sleep at night? If you're like, if you are having to survive, stick you in the liver while you're sleeping, right? Connection is unstable. Here we go. So there are ways that even in a city type of environment, urban type of environment, things that we can go ahead and do to increase our survivability and decrease our detectability. And though that's all in survival. Navigation, which ties into survival, right? If we're operating in the woods, cover yourself in fish blood. It's better than nothing, I guess. Survival is so important, and navigation is going to aid you in that survival, right? So navigation is crucial, and it's a perishable skill. All of these are perishable skill sets, but in my personal opinion, my personal experience, navigation, specifically land navigation, is one of the most perishable skill sets. I've done 2 courses in land nav, and if you drop me out there with a map and a compass and protractor right now, don't know how I'd do. So it's that perishable, and that was a couple of years ago that I did all that training. So if I was going to be operating in the wilderness, I would definitely fucking redo some type of navigation course. Now, if you're trying to navigate in the ocean, that's a different type of navigation, but specifically to what most of us encounter is urban navigation, street navigation, which is a very important skill set. And DJ is familiar with this because in executive protection, this is a big thing. This is a big part of executive protection is route mapping, route analysis, and route mapping. And you would do very well to be familiar with some basic land navigation principles and basically how to read a map, and also how to read a map while you're in a vehicle convoying or driving, because you never know. And this has come from personal experience. You might be in a team and somebody hands you a map and says, hey, where do we need to go? Where are we going? How far is it to this place? Do you know where we are? Yeah, we'll see. We're right here. How long is it going to take us to get over here, dude? Or what's the best route to get over here? And if you were like me when that happened to me years and years ago, you'd be like, oh. So familiarize yourself. And then once you do get into your area of operations, familiarize yourself again with that specific map. Yeah, so No less than 3 routes, DJ says. Always, always, always have a backup route and backup routes, plural, and travel and good understanding of them. Absolutely. And it's so crucially important. And that's why DJ emphasized it like that. Guys like DJ, guys like me who have like been there, done it, cannot emphasize enough to you how fucking important this is. This might be one of the more important things. So, and the next thing on the list is going to be languages. Doesn't mean that you have to learn a fluent language wherever you're going. But it does mean that you should be studying basics of a language. I don't give a fuck what language it is. Spanish is a great one to learn here in the States. French is a good one to learn because it's spoken in many countries in the Middle East and Africa as well. But you could be very specialized with it, or you can be very broad with it. And if you're like me and you're okay with languages, then you can learn one and learn another, and maybe even add some of the other, right? But not only do languages enable you to travel in a specific region, they enable you to make rapport and build a rapport with a specific type of person. Spanish can be very important, especially here stateside, if you don't want to be found. If you need to blend in with the local populace, or that is at least make good with the local populace, and I know Rusty could tell you this too, learning Spanish is very good because those types of people, at least around here, tend to be day laborers, paid cash, under the table, that type of thing. So it would be a very smart idea to try to learn as much Spanish as you could, especially if you're thinking about being involved in a situation where you might need to get paid for the day and not have any questions asked, so to speak. But that is a broad kind of overview of what cross-training might be like, right? And we can get, again, more detailed and specific about that. But that's kind of the broad strokes. Now, specifically, and I have here written down some very specifics of mission planning that we can go into. Guys, I only have maybe 20 minutes left because I have to be at the firehouse tonight. But I'm going to try to get as much of this done as we can. Languages. Now, we said that we would leave it kind of the broad strokes, but I'll just touch on this. You have to be aware when you're learning languages of dialects and accents. The dialect that you learn might not work. For example, I speak Levant Arabic. It's spoken in Syria, in Jordan, in Lebanon. But when I go over to Egypt, they don't speak that. It's maybe 70% I don't understand, right? They can understand me for the most part because they live over there, right? But I don't understand what they're saying. So that's also the same. I don't know how that applies for Spanish, to be honest. Don't know how many languages that applies for in French, for example. But I would suspect that in many languages it's the same, where accent and dialect can make a big difference. So learn the specific region that you're going to. Hey, I speak this language, but what dialect of it is spoken there? What accent do they use? And especially if you know that language well enough to blend in, well, you want to be gosh damn sure that you're not using the right or the wrong accent, right? So backgrounds. This is something that guys who go overseas, and I'm talking about backgrounds, I'm talking about backstops and cover stories and things like that. This is something that you really need to spend a lot of time doing. And I'm not saying that as a adventure traveler, you need to do a lot of this. But if you're going to go to a place where maybe you don't want it to be known that you're an American, right? What I do sometimes is I tell people I'm Canadian. But what I've run into is if they start asking me about Canada's history or the monetary system in Canada or Canadian politics, right? I'm left out in the weeds and I'm like, oh, I gotta go, bye, right? So you really, if you're going to say that you're from somewhere, maybe you do speak enough French. Maybe you're fluent in French because you've been studying it since the second grade. Okay, you're gonna say you're French. That's fine. But what do you know about Trudeau? Is he liked? Is he not liked? What do you know about the Canadian system? French system of politics? What do you know about, the euro, all of that stuff? How well do you know Paris or wherever you're saying you're from? Generally, I recommend not saying you're from a specific city, more outside of a specific city in a suburb, because it just builds more credibility. Those things are very important to learn, though, and just learn the basics. You don't need to go crazy about it, but know where you're from. If you're going to say you're from a suburb outside of Ontario, what suburb are you from? What street do you live on? What streets are around that street? And then know some of the basics. Just be able to talk intelligently about what you're doing. And again, if you are saying that you do a job and your career in life is something other than what you really do, we'll know all about it. If you're saying or you work in finance and you're there on business, well, what company are you with? Know about that company, right? Know a little bit about finance. Know about, if you say you work with computers, right? Be able to talk about computers, right? If you say you work for Pepsi Cola, be able to tell them about what you do with Pepsi Cola. What are their earnings like? What's the revenue been like with the cash flow? Blah 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 blah, right? Or whatever it is, right? And generally, you need to keep it specific too. So if you're staying at a nice hotel, you don't want to tell somebody that you work at a blue collar job. You're not a Pepsi Cola, what is it called? Vending machine repairman, right? And then what? You're staying at the Ritz-Carlton? No. If you were staying at the Ritz-Carlton and you needed a career path, you would be in the finance. You'd be in whatever, right? Something that generates a lot of cash. If you were staying in I don't know, whatever it is, lower end hotel, then maybe you're more of a blue collar guy. But fit your environment is very important, if that's what I'm trying to say. So generally when people go over and they're using like a real cover and stuff, and they need to know, hey, like CIA guys and shit, they'll spend a fucking year. They might even go and work for Microsoft or whoever it is for a year and build their cover legitimately, right? As this person, he works there, he does this. You can call my fucking colleagues and like they'll tell you I've been there every day. Like I'm literally here on business, and again, that company somebody knows somebody and they send them there. But that's all very important, and it's a lot of details. It's a lot of details. Hey, when were you born? And another thing, and I'll leave it at this. Excuse that. Another thing is, I'll leave it at this because, again, guys, we do this for seminars. We will come to you and we will talk all about this stuff. We will teach you exactly how it's done. And we've spent years learning about this stuff. We also have guys like DJ who this is what he does, right? So when we say we will come and deliver you a product like this, we will come and deliver you a product, and it will be much better than what we're touching on here. But the last thing I'll say about, building those cover stories, keep everything as close to the truth as you possibly can. Now, environment. So when you're going over there, you have to know the environment that you're going to be in. So if you're going to, let's say, just for example, we're going to Yemen with Doctors Without Borders, right? Maybe we're going there as a doctor. Maybe we're going there as like DJ does on an executive protection detail. We want to know about that. We'll make it better and more lethal. We will make you more lethal, and that's the point. We need to know the environment, where we're going to be, and then kind of around that. So your specific area of operations, and then outside of that area of operations is very important. Hospitals, okay? No-go zones, go and no-go zones. Hey, where can we go that's like friendly to us? Where can we go around there? Where should we not go? Like, if we wander into the wrong side of this neighborhood, is it like Brazil where there's going to be guys with fouls standing up on the balconies? Like, is it going to be legit threatening like that? Are we going to be wandering into the fucking favelas if we take these wrong series of turns? It's very important to know about. And again, the hospitals, hey, what hospitals should we go to? Do any of these things take my insurance? Like, will they accept this traveler's insurance, this and that, right? What kind of hospitals are they? Are they a trauma center? Are they a cardiovascular center? Are they a neurological center? They all specialize in different things. If it's trauma, what level of a trauma center is it? So all of these things are important to know about. And that's all in environment. This is all for mission planning, guys. This is stuff we need to know ahead of time. And this is why I say it can take months and months and months and months to put these packages together. The right way, at least. Escape routes, okay? So escape routes out of the specific area that we're in, but then once we leave that area, where are we going, right? So if maybe we need to leave Yemen, Okay, can we get into Oman across the border? Can we get to these other countries? What's the safest country that we can go to? And have we made arrangements ahead of time? Right? Have we secured a visa for that country just in case? Have we, this and that? Right? So you need to know if you need to mosey out, where are you going? And this applies here stateside too for prepping. Okay, maybe we've got a bug out bag. Maybe we've even got our prescription medication, our passports, our documents, our house deeds, all of that in one specific bag. We've got it packed. We've got it ready to go. We've got 30 AR mags, right? Whatever. We've got cash and credit cards and things like that. Everything to sustain us. But we don't know where the fuck we're going. Well, shame on you. Okay, you need to know where you're going. Are we going to Aunt Sally's house in 2 states over? Are we going to the Motel 6 on the other side of the state or the other side of town, right? Why are we leaving? Has our position been overrun by Antifas or communists or something like that? What's the purpose and where are we going? We need to know where we're going ahead of time. And again, like TJ said, more than one location, right? So if our route gets blocked there and we have to turn around and go to another location, we have that available to us. So another thing that we can think about doing is doctors and vets. Now, what I mean by that, and this ties into the hospitals, is maybe we don't want to go to a hospital. Maybe there's been some gunplay involved and we got shot, but we don't want any questions asked. Do we have a doctor we could pay for this that will just keep it on the low? And again, this is geared more towards overseas type stuff, but something to think about. Veterinarians, right? They might have some kind of antibiotics or something that could work, right? They might at least know how to patch us up, right? Because animals and humans, they're both living creatures, right? I know certainly humans and dogs from my canine handling courses, like it's fairly similar actually. The pulse and everything, the vitals are actually fairly similar in many cases. So it's an idea, right? I remember that movie Terminator. I think it was the last one or the third one or whatever, where he breaks in the middle of the night to the vet and he's looking for pills. I think he was looking for ketamine or something, but you get the idea. That is possible. Pharmacies, right? So, hey, do we need a prescription for things, or can we just walk into a pharmacy like in Mexico and just buy shit? Because if we can just buy shit, like all we need to know is, hey, what kind of antibiotics do we need for what, right? And that's a lot, but again, we can call a doctor on the sat phone or one of our communications plans and just get him to advise us, hey, what do we need, right? This is the symptoms. This is the signs and symptoms. This is this. Hey, what would you recommend? Oh, get this broad spectrum, whatever, right? So, or do we need a prescription, in which case we'll need to, go visit a doctor, right? Sometimes you can actually call doctors in that country or without a country and get them to fill a script over the phone. But if you don't want to be found, you're going to have to improvise. So weather, right? So what's the weather going to be like? And again, this is why we do the weather, guys. Is there a hurricane blowing down? Is it going to be 120 like in the Gulf or 110 Fahrenheit? Or is it going to be like in fucking Canada where it's like negative Fahrenheit, right? Like, well, that's something we need to know. And weather can change quick, but getting a rough idea of the weather reports will really help you out, especially because being caught out in the fucking rain, especially when maybe you didn't even bring with you a change of clothes, right? And that can lend itself to really big problems in a hurry, like hypothermia. So know the weather ahead of time, know how to pack. I'm looking at the time here. I got a little bit of time left. Another thing is routes, like we were saying, primary, secondary, tertiary route, at least 3 routes, okay? And this goes for escape routes as well as everyday travel routes, and which lends itself to surveillance detection routes, right? So if you're under, surveillance by some terrorists, hey, how do we confirm that without really giving it up too much that we know? Sometimes we might want them to know we know, but sometimes we might not. So learning how to do and plan a surveillance detection route, and then actually, this is the part that it gets a lot of guys. You can learn about how to do it, but if you don't actually implement it while you're in country, like if you don't actually take a walk or a drive and say to yourself, this place, then I'm going to walk over here. I can look in this window, but this angle really sucks, so maybe it's this one over here. Unless you're doing that work once you get in country, okay, just knowing about it, like, trust me, when you really need to deploy it, you can't, doing it on the fly is a lot harder. So practice it, do it, and then if you need to, you can implement it, and it will run smoothly, hopefully. Dress code, okay? So how do we dress? All right, how do we dress? Now, are we going to Europe? Do we need to fit in Europe? Look at me. I don't fucking fit in Europe. I fit in certain parts of Europe, Germany, right? But do our shorts need to be a specific length above the knee? Do we need to have a certain type of shoe? Do we not want to wear really baggy clothes? Do we want to wear more tight-fitting clothes? All right. Do we need to get a man dress? Right? Like, what do we need to do to fit in that country? And there's a difference between trying to fit in, you know, and overdoing it. But, you know, in many places, it depends why you're there, what you're doing there. But you very might want to fit in. The way I look at this with this gray man shit, and there's a lot of doctrine out there that's frankly fucking bullshit, but you want to just be able to blend into a crowd enough where if someone was looking at a crowd of people, they might scan over you once. All right, that's about it. And DJ says, build networks, make connections, study a region of influence and activity, dress neutral, and to the area. And that's really what it is, dress neutral and to the area. The last thing that we have here are a couple of last things. Well, number one, rules of the road are very important. So this applies specifically to driving, but not specifically just to driving. So obviously, how do we drive? There's things that will give you away real quick if you're not familiar with the area. Even stupid things like in France, they tend to drive even on narrow roads, like in Cannes, they drive on one side of the road, really hugging the curb so that the mopeds can get through. But if you don't know that and you're hogging the whole center of the road, the mopeds will get upset. They will draw attention to you. They will become angry. So things like that, right? Very small nuances. And this, again, can be gleaned by building your local network and connections and gaining that human intelligence and asking questions. And guys who have been there are always really good resources for you. Like they used to say in executive protection stuff, guys who are coming home, hey, before they leave, if you can get an opportunity to debrief with them or debrief them, that would be really a very valuable asset for you. And this applies not only to overseas stuff, guys. All of this stuff can apply here stateside as well. And if you're smart, you'll be listening and saying, yes, 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 I could use that here if I really needed to. So if I'm from up north and I'm going down south, well, what cultural differences do I need to know about, right? To just at least blend in enough to not draw too much attention to myself if that's what I want to avoid. And the fuck, I can't read my own handwriting sometimes. Oh, the equipment. All right, so the equipment that you're taking in with you, can I work it? Can I fucking work this stuff? So I've seen guys with fancy ass medical kits. They don't know how to fucking work a BP cuff. You know, it's like if you're bringing a fancy fucking radio like we talked about, can you program it? Okay, can you work it? Satellite phone, like, can you turn it on? Can you call home? Do you know what number to dial? Like, work your equipment, know how to work your equipment, know how to operate it. And that's all stuff you should be learning about before you go. The last thing on here that I'm just going to touch on very briefly and quickly is documents. And again, we talked about visas and things like that. But even guys going over who, you know, are going on a different kind of passport, so to speak, that all takes time to generate, and then you need to learn it. So whether it's a passport, driver's license, this and that, but your documents all need to be in order. You need to check them and double check them and make sure they're in order. But that's it, guys. I got to run. I'm going on duty. So I appreciate each and every single one of you. I did not get a chance to read these comments, guys. Again, you can always super chat, and I'll definitely get to that and answer that question, but it's just too much right here. I do ask one thing, all right? These live streams, okay? Like, I'm sure they're monitored in some way, so I haven't read any of this stuff, but please keep all of this above the board, especially if we want to continue having these chats and having these live streams. Don't talk about criminal shit in here, all right? Don't talk about drugs in here, all right? I really don't care about it. Look, I get it, okay? I've seen guys fall into K-holes and stuff. Okay, I've had a colorful life, but let's try to keep let's try to keep this above the board so that they don't give me any reason to get rid of us, okay? Because we really want to continue on here. And now that I've monetized this stuff, we just don't want to do it that way, all right? So with all that being said, guys, gutterfightingsecrets.com is the website. September 18th, 19th, DJ and I will be in, where the fuck are we going to be? Maryland. And we're going to be doing World War II combatives and close protection training. If you get in touch with me, I will try to get you a seat in that, all right? But frankly speaking, we're going to be closing it soon. One more thing, if you like these T-shirts, get in touch with me. I got T-shirts. I got tickets to seminars. I got DVDs. So if you need it, get in touch with me. I'll hook you up. All right, guys, until next time, please remember that you are your first and the last line of defense. Take that seriously. Get trained. All right, be responsible. And I'll see you all in the next live stream. DJ, thanks for coming, man. Rusty, X, all you guys, thanks for stopping by. Later, bros.